In April 1972, a fire was set in a quiet house on Doggett Road in Catford, South London. Inside, police found a body, and within days, 3 boys had confessed to murder. The problem is, none of them did it. And what happened in that interview room would quietly rewrite the rules for every police interview in England and Wales. This is the Cordon. Tonight, the Confait case. Maxwell Confait was 26 years old, known to friends as Michelle. Maxwell lived between worlds in a Britain that offered very little room for people who did. Mixed heritage, gender non-conforming, working in Soho, renting a room in a shared house in Catford. On the night of the 21st of April 1972, that house was set alight. Firefighters brought the blaze under control quickly. Then in an upstairs room they found Maxwell, dead before the fire had even started, strangled with a length of flex. The investigation moved fast, perhaps too fast. Within days, 3 local boys were in custody. Colin Lattimore was 18, but had significant learning disabilities. Assessments placed his mental age far younger. Ronnie Layton was 15, Ahmet Salih was just 14. They were questioned without solicitors, without their parents present for the crucial admissions. There were no tape recorders, because in 1972, there didn't have to be. The only record of what was said in that room was what the officers wrote down afterwards. All 3 boys signed confessions. All 3 later said those confessions were false, the product of fear, exhaustion, and pressure they didn't know how to resist. And here's where the case should have collapsed on its own. Colin Lattimore had an alibi, a strong one. He'd been at a youth club on the night of the murder, seen by multiple independent witnesses, right through the window of time when the pathologist said Maxwell died. A confession that contradicts the medical evidence. An alibi supported by strangers with no reason to lie. And yet in November 1972, the confessions carried the day. Lattimore was found guilty of manslaughter on grounds of diminished responsibility. Layton was convicted of murder. Salih of arson. 3 boys, sent away for a crime the evidence said they could not have committed. It might have ended there. Cases like this often did, but the families refused to stop. A journalist and future MP named Christopher Price took up the cause, picking apart the timeline in public. The fire evidence and the time of death simply could not be squared with the boys' movements. The pressure built for 3 years. In October 1975, the Court of Appeal quashed all 3 convictions. The boys, now young men, walked free. An official inquiry followed, led by Sir Henry Fisher, examining exactly how 3 vulnerable teenagers came to confess to a killing they didn't commit. And this is the part of the story most people never hear. The Confait case fed directly into the Royal Commission on Criminal Procedure, and from that came the Police and Criminal Evidence Act of 1984, PACE. If you've ever watched a British crime drama and seen the tape recorder click on, the caution read out, the solicitor called, the custody sergeant logging every hour, that framework exists in large part because of what happened to Colin Lattimore, Ronnie Layton, and Ahmet Salih, recorded interviews, the right to legal advice in the station, and the appropriate adult, an independent person who must be present when police interview a child or an adult with learning disabilities or mental ill health. That safeguard traces its lineage straight back to a room in South London in 1972. But there is a shadow over this story, and it's important we sit with it. Because while the wrongful convictions were undone, Maxwell Confait never got justice. The case was reinvestigated years later, and names were put forward, but no one has ever been convicted of Maxwell's murder. A young person who lived on the margins, failed in life by the world around them, and failed again in death by the investigation that was supposed to speak for them. The law changed, the interview rooms changed, the victim was left behind. So when we talk about the Confait case, we should really be talking about 2 injustices. The 3 boys whose false confessions stole years of their lives, and Maxwell, whose killer was never held to account. If this case was new to you, that's exactly why this channel exists. The cases that changed everything, that almost nobody remembers. Subscribe to the Cordon, so you don't miss the next one. And if you'd like us to cover the later reinvestigation of Maxwell's murder in full, tell us in the comments. Until then, stay curious and stay kind.